the news in full. The Ogun State Governor, Prince Abeokuta, has urged members of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in the state not to see the forthcoming general elections as a do or die affair. Governor Abeokuta stated this during the maiden daily iftar for the ongoing Ramadan organized for party faithful from the 3 senatorial districts across the state held at the Presidential Lodge, Abeokuta. He also assured that the party would follow its constitution without prejudice in selecting candidates that will be presented in the forthcoming election. Governor's Office correspondent Yusuf Ganil reports.
The first 2022 daily iftar for the ongoing Ramadan, organized by the Ogun State government, hosted the leaders of the ruling party, All Progressives Congress (APC), across the 3 senatorial districts to interact and pray for continuous progress and development of the state. Governor Abeokuta said his administration since inception has done a lot in ensuring that the party works stronger daily in the state through the implementation of workable programs and policies, which, according to him, have made the party a force to be reckoned with, as people from other political parties have since joined the fold to be part of the success story.
It's a period of introspection. It's a period that we look within and outside and look at ways and we have offended your neighbors or others and reflect on what you can do to improve yourself and relations with other people. And resolve to be better than you ever be.
While congratulating party leaders for their commitment during the just concluded APC National Congress in Abuja, the governor promised that the party state executive, led by its chairman, Chief Yemi Sanusi, would do everything possible in making the forthcoming primary elections crisis-free.
Now that we have put in forth to represent us and hold our party for us, that party that has given us the privilege of what we are to do. The party that is the platform that all of us need to stand on. The president that you discharge your duties and responsibilities as a chairman of the state as to the best of your ability. You must not be found wanting in any form or the other. You must continue to be our pride. That trust and confidence that is being imposed on you by giving this responsibility must continuously be justified.
A former governor of the state, Chief Olusegun Shoba, applauded Governor Abeokuta for his giant stride that placed the party well above others in the states, stressing that the cohesiveness and cooperation exhibited by the party members during its national convention in Abuja was commendable.
What the national tells us, the role of the elections, we will have to sit down and discuss and respect the voice of all of you. So I appeal to you, the symbol of our party.
The state party chairman, Chief Yemi Sanusi, noted that the victory of the party in the state during the last election in 2019 was as a result of determination and cooperation displayed by party members, urging them not to relent but continue with such spirit, as the party leaders would not disappoint them during the forthcoming election.
The governor used every possible machinery to make sure that we come out good. We want the world ESCO, the local government ESCO, and the state ESCO that we are celebrating today.
Hosting of other groups and associations for the Ramadan Iftar continues. Yusuf Ganiyu, OGTV News.
Away from that now, the current administration in the state will not relent in its effort at providing necessary amenities for youth through its policies which provide succor for graduates through the Ogun State Job Portal, a linkage for job-seeking youth and potential employers of labor, Ogun Teach Up, among others. This was made known by the State Deputy Governor, Engineer Naimot Salako Ojidele, at Chrisland University, Abeokuta, while commissioning the effigy of Justiciar of the College of Law of the institution. Our reporter, Margaret Okunlola, has the details.
The presence of effigy is a representation of impartiality, objectivity, obligations, enforcement, and respect for the law. It symbolizes that justice stands by its decision and ruling and is able to take action. The effigy, popularly known as Justiciar, has been unveiled at the College of Law, Chrisland University, Abeokuta. The State Deputy Governor, Engineer Naimot Salako Ojidele, commended the founders for the vision and all who have contributed to the development of the institution.
We have a huge responsibility as a state to make sure that we provide necessary amenities for the youth and support them post-graduation in any which way that we can. Part of this is the setting up of the Ogun State Job Portal, which has helped us to dimension the unemployment challenges we have, and also to provide a linkage within the job-seeking youth and potential employers right around the state.
The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Chinedum Peace Babalola, affirmed that the institution is poised at producing scholars with intellectual capacity.
We really desire, based on our vision and mission, to train and graduate lawyers, okay, who are 21st century lawyers, and who will go there based on our motto, which is intellectual radiance, to shine the light.
Stakeholders present agreed that the effigy is the hope of the common man in justice dispensation.
Not only are we going to teach law here, we are going to practice law. As you have gone round, you must have seen the law clinic. That is our own social responsibility to the community.
Chrisland University is therefore ready to take its place of pride, its pride of place among the league of universities with accredited law programs in Nigeria.
The Justiciar effigy projects the form of a blindfolded woman with a two-tray scale in one hand and sword in the other, symbolizing transparency and patience, as law is no respecter of person, with the belief that to every case there are two sides. Margaret Okunlola, OGTV News.
In the fourth quarter of 2020, the unemployment rate in Nigeria reached 33.28% between 2015 and 2020. In view of this, Secretary to the State Government has enjoined Nigerian youth to think of what they can do for the country and not what the country can do for them. He stated this at the first personality lecture of the Department of Business Administration and Marketing of BABCOCK University, Ileshan Remo. Bumi Adigun completes the report.
The younger generation has superior personalities and can understand knowledge and technology to compete locally and globally. This is what is happening here at the BABCOCK University, Ileshan Remo, in Ogun State, as the Department of Business Administration and Marketing decided to have a personality lecture to put their students on the right track. Their special guest of honor and the guest lecturer is the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, whose wealth of experience in the private sector before coming into politics gives him a good advantage. Entrepreneurship, graduate employability, and economic development, the nexus, is the topic, and the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, did justice to it.
When we go to the markets, we need to be flexible, we need to adapt, we need to be ready for what is there. When the best is here, then we can
see outside, there's always something to be done for business, small scale enterprises.
It later became interactive session as the students were engaged in given practical experience, just as Mr. Tokunbo Talabi used himself as a point of contact, pointing to the period of his humble beginning, leading to questions and responses.
So the pain from what is coming outside. And what is coming outside is not drama, it's not so difficult. If you just know the rules of the game, the rules of the game now for all of you, in your own time, is what you have in your hand.
The forum becomes the first personality lecture series of the department. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
Governor Dapo Abiodun has congratulated the Olu of Ilaro and paramount ruler of Yoruba land, Oba Kehinde Gbadewole Olugbenle, on the celebration of his 10 years coronation anniversary. Abiodun, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Kunle Shomori, on Thursday described the monarch's 10 years on the throne of his forebearers as a wonderful turnaround for Ilaro in particular and Yoruba land in general. He noted that since Oba Olugbenle ascended the throne, his domain had witnessed economic and socio-cultural development, courtesy the monarch's open-door policy, wisdom, perseverance, and exemplary leadership. Abiodun, who eulogized the Olu's steadfastness and courage to speak truth to power, said Oba Olugbenle brought its exposure, experience, and service to bear on the throne, which, according to him, has made the monarch one of the most respected in the country. The governor noted that apart from being a royal father, his apolitical stance and unbiased viewpoint on issues has indeed endeared him to many people within and outside Ogun State, while saying that the monarch has been a true custodian of culture and tradition through his support for the Orono Festival. Abiodun added that Oba Olugbenle has been a rallying point for all the indigenes of Ilaro, both at home and in diaspora. He said the monarch's statesmanship was brought to the fore at the National Confab in 2014, where he advocated state police to ensure adequate and quick response policing. Governor Abiodun, while saying the 10th coronation anniversary of Oba Olugbenle calls for celebration, prayed the monarch live long on the throne of his forefathers in order to be able to influence more development to Ilaro and Yoruba land. And still ahead in the news, National Assembly passes Amendment 2022 budget, approves 965.42 billion naira borrowing. Join us for the news. A crucial meeting of the National Security Council is to be convened next week with a view to take far-reaching and decisive measure against the resurgency of violent crimes in parts of the country towards achieving lasting peace, stability, and public order. President Muhammadu Buhari summoned the meeting following suggestions received from the Council of State, which met to discuss critical national issues.
A lot of issues has been discussed and advice proper and solution profiles also. And President promised to discuss this with the service chiefs on the security on Tuesday, so that adequate security arrangement will continue to flow vis-a-vis the advice he received today from the various governors and from members of the council, which were robust. The governor of Borno really commended the president for the good work that security agencies are doing in the northeast, especially Borno. He said he can sleep now with all eyes closed. That was what he said for at least 6 hours in the night. That has never been so.
The council, which also deliberated on National Honors Award as well as the forthcoming National Population and Housing Census, ratified the grant of presidential pardon, clemency, and mercy to 159 Nigerians.
A prerogative, presidential committee of prerogative of mercy was tendered, presented for the advice to be given by the council in line with the requirement of the law. 26 of them, of the inmates, are recommended for presidential pardon. 85 of surviving ex-convicts were recommended for presidential pardon. Deceased, those that were convicted but have died, one was recommended for posthumous presidential pardon. Inmates recommended for presidential clemency, 27 were presented. Inmates recommended for reduced sentences for their terms of imprisonment, 13 were presented. Inmates recommended for reduced sentence from death row to life imprisonment, 10 were presented.
That was the crucial meeting of the National Security Council. Meanwhile, the National Council of States has okayed the National Population Census for April 2023 after the general elections. Director General of National Population Commission, NPC, Nasser Isakwara, disclosed this to State House correspondents after a meeting of the Council of State presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday. The NPC boss, who recalled the last census exercise held in 2006, disclosed that the Commission would deploy high technology for the exercise. He said census data is generated for planning, noting that the data currently being used are mere projections and obsolete. Ahead of next climate change summit scheduled for Egypt, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is advocating climate justice for Africa, noting that a just transition would mean more energy and must include ending global energy poverty. At the virtual event organized by the Atlantic Council on Climate Finance, Vice President Osinbajo noted that Africa has already seen the investment rules linked to the technology choices for African countries in ways that do not apply to wealthy nations, and summits that climate justice must include four-way support for countries with greatest needs and would contribute to the least to global emissions. Osinbajo says every nation must have enough energy to build resilient infrastructure, deliver essential public services, and provide a cooling air conditioner to withstand a warming climate on Nigeria. The Vice President noted that the country remains committed to the net zero emission by 2060, but would require the support and partnership of all the stakeholders. The Vice President's voice was also loud on the use of alternative energy technology, stressing that every country must find its own path to a low-carbon future. The Vice President expressed optimism that Africa will get it right at COP27, noting that Egypt will be a crucial moment for African leaders to explain their common position and for Western leaders to show they are hearing and living up to their commitment and responsibilities. The National Assembly has passed amendments to the 2022 Appropriation Act and 2022 Fiscal Framework, which raised the deficit in the federal government's budget by 965.42 billion naira to 7.35 trillion naira. The Senate and the House of Representatives, respectively, considered and adopted reports on the amendment bills at plenary on Thursday based on the request of the President Muhammadu Buhari. The Federal Parliament approved a new oil price benchmark of $73 per barrel, a new oil production volume of 1.600 million per day, and a PMS subsidy of 4 trillion naira. Provision for federally funded upstream projects being implemented was cut by 200 billion naira from 352.8 billion naira, while the projection for federal government independent revenue was raised by 400 billion naira. Also passed was an additional provision of 182.45 billion naira to cater for the needs of the Nigerian police force, as well as provision of 76.13 billion naira for domestic debt service, with net reductions in statutory transfers by 66.07 billion naira. The President had written to the National Assembly to call for amendment to the budget and the fiscal framework for 2022. Buhari said the adjustment to the 2022 fiscal framework include an increase in the project oil price benchmark by $11 per barrel from $62 per barrel to $73 per barrel, a reduction in the projected oil production volume by 283,000 barrels per day from 1.883 million barrels per day to 1.600 million barrels per day, an increase in the estimated provision for PMS subsidy for 2022 by 442.72 billion naira from 3.557 trillion naira to 4 trillion naira. President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with Christians as they celebrate Easter, the most significant event in the Christian calendar. The President, in a message, recognizes the uniqueness of this year's celebration for adherents of the two great faiths, as the celebration comes halfway into the month of Ramadan. He adds that the message of Easter reminds all of the power of divine love, faith, and redemption. Easter, it says, evokes the resilience of the human spirit not to give up in the face of seemingly daunting challenges of life, and this period emboldens all to believe that the current state of uncertainty and insecurity will soon unfold, a season of triumph of good over evil, hope over despair, and light over darkness. The President urges all to increase in love for one another and show more patriotism, remembering the spiritual emphasis of love has so much relevance for all today as a nation more than ever before, and thus contributes towards its peace and development. As they approach another season of electioneering, the President admonishes that security and unity of the nation should guide actions and utterances. The President wishes all Nigerians a joyful and blessed Easter. With the pace of work on the OGUN agro-cargo airport, the people of the state should be rest assured of delivery of the standard project in record time, even as the work continues full blast to ensure the completion of half work between the month of June and July in the year. Commissioner for Works, Engineer Abeokuta, made this known while speaking on the steady progress of the airport project and the quality of work being done by the contractor. Matthew Shomi has the details.
With 1.5 meter of the foundation for the control tower and that of terminal building into the ground, 4 kilometers of the runway already been asphalted alongside 140-meter leveled ground on both sides for flight safety, the race of the OGUN cargo airport that will change the narrative and serve as the springboard of economic transformation of the state has no doubt gone far beyond the starting point and inching towards the finishing line. The airport project, sitting on 8,500 hectares of land with 16-kilometer airport fence, is already engaging over 550 manpower directly from the local community who are presently working at the construction site to meet up with the deadline for the completion of the project.
The 3.4 plus the safety zone of the runway. Before the end of this month, the first layer of asphalt will be completed. So you're looking at more or less like 60 meters wide, about 4 kilometers. So that will be completed. The first 65 mm of asphalt, then that will be followed by another 65 mm asphalt. So that will be complete. Once that is done, now you can continue the work constantly because the sub-base is protected. So those are the key things. At the same time, you have the control tower ongoing. Terminal building will follow.
At the same time, then the safety zone on both sides, which is 140 meters from the center line of the runway, left and right, is ongoing also. So most of the artwork will be more or less done before the June-July area.
Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure in Ogun State, Engineer Ade Akinsoya, said he is not surprised by the level of commitment and dedication of the contractor to the progress of the airport, as the state carried out a due diligence on the selection of the best to handle the project.
We are on course to open it by God's grace and by December, as promised by His Excellency. So we're working around the clock. So it's the same thing. Not too far from that is the Illusion Agoway Road.
The different phases of asphalt that will give the runway different layers to withstand any kind of situation is already being laid on the 4 kilometers, while work goes on simultaneously on the remaining segments and the leveling of the ground for the flight safety. The control tower and administrative blocks are also coming up gradually to ensure the first aeroplane lands on the airport by December and is commissioned by the President. Matthew Showme, OGTV News.
The House of Representatives has approved 4 trillion naira for subsidy on premium motor spirits, also known as PMS. President Muhammadu Buhari had requested for revision of the 2021 fiscal framework from the House. The President requested the lawmakers to approve an additional 3.557 trillion naira in addition to the 442.72 billion naira provided in the 2022 budget for subsidy. The House also approved the reduction in crude oil production quota from 1.8 million barrels per day to 1.6 million barrels per day and a $73 oil price benchmark. The lawmakers approved a cut in the provision of federally funded upstream projects being implemented by the federal government by about 200 billion naira from 352.80 billion naira. The number of coronavirus infections in Africa has been dwindling in the last 4 months, the World Health Organization announced. According to the report, the number of COVID-19 cases registered each week had steadily declined over the past 16 weeks, while the number of deaths drastically reduced in the last 8 weeks. It also noted that the overall rate of infections on the continent had tapered off from a peak of more than 308,000 cases per week at the beginning of the year to fewer than 20,000 new cases per week at present. This is the lowest level of infection since April 2020, when the pandemic began. However, Africa, with its 1.3 billion people, has a very high number of unreported infections. The WHO assumes that the majority of all infections go unreported. Officially, the continent has registered almost 11.5 million coronavirus infections, of which more than 250,000 were fatal. The West-to-West Matra has taken its roots in Ward 1 Ilaro, Yewa South local government area of Ogun State. A huge number of the All Progressives APC faithful are keying into the movement. Fowora Adesonwo reports on the impact of the ward meeting. Its report is presented in this package.
Like the biblical Moses raised in the king's palace for the emancipation of his people, Senator Solomon Adiola Olamilekan Yayi is a man to watch out for, as he decided to play the game of politics in favor of his people in Ogun West. As jaws are dropping, hope of being recognized by the people keeps rising. Senator Adiola Olamilekan Yayi is not new to the Nigerian polity, having represented the people of Lagos West not once in the National Assembly. It was a joy of a people who deserve quality representation. They danced, sang, and spoke glowingly of their illustrious son, adding that with Yayi clinching the ticket, their future is bright.
We want to tell the whole world and the entire Kiwabala government that one of us, the member of this world, the member of APC, Solomon Olamilekan Yayi, has declared, and the entire world is giving him
total support to go ahead.
You recollect that there is a serious agitation, and it's been on for a long time, that Ogun West has not been fully developed, like other areas in the state. We believe that with the return of Senator Adeola Olamide, things will be different.
Signatories at the political party speak on why it has to be Yayi.
In Ilaro last week to declare his intention to run for Senate and to show publicly that he is a member of Ilaro Ward 1. This is the first ward meeting after that. And so we are declaring publicly he is the only APC member in Ilaro Ward 1 who has signified interest to contest.
So if anybody tells you Yayi is just coming for the first time, he has always been home, he has always been coming home. He's my own brother, and I'm so happy that he's fully back now. This is not a matter of I'm coming, and he has to go back again. Yayi is fully back, either you like it or not.
Of course, assorted drums were visible and beaten to seal signed and engraved Senator Olamilekan Solomon Adeola into the hearts of the gathering comprising the women folk, the mainstay of electorate, with the strong instructions to get and protect their voters' cards at all times.
Operatives of the Nigeria Customs Service at Murtala Mohammed International Airport have intercepted a pistol with 2 magazines containing 26 rounds of ammunition. The public relations officer of the command, Victor Ogagbo, made this known in a statement. According to Ogagbo, the items were intercepted while on routine examination at the D wing of the arrival hall of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. He added that the items were seen in baggage belonging to a passenger who arrived from Washington, D.C. via United Airlines. He said the suspected passenger had earlier been accused by Nigeria Immigration Service of illegally being in possession of 2 international passports. Ogagbo said that the importation of the firearms contravenes Schedule 4 of the Customs and Excise and Management Act, which was an absolute prohibition. Up next is business news with Simiat Abaro Dongwewe.
You're welcome to the business segment of the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reconstitution of the board of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. This is with a view to repositioning the bank as a core banking institution with core competence in mortgage finance. Earlier this year, Buhari had appointed Mr. Ayodeji Ariyogbeleyi, a chartered accountant and a virtuoso in finance, as chairman of the board. On the new board, Haman Madu, representing the Northeast Zone with the background of over 30 years in the mortgage industry, is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. Accordingly, the appointment of the board takes effect from April 13, 2022, with the exception of the chairman, Mr. Ayodeji Ariyogbeleyi, whose appointment took effect from January 5 this year. The Director General and Chief Executive Officer, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, Dr. Dan Azumi Ibrahim, has disclosed that the federal government, through Executive Order 5, has restricted the issuance of visas to certain foreign professionals. He added that only foreign professionals with skills lacking in Nigeria would get visa approval from the Ministry of Interior. He said this in his address at a media chat on the public presentation of indigenous software for the implementation of Executive Order 5. Executive Order 5 was signed into law by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, on February 2, 2018, to promote local content and public procurement. Electricity supply in Nigeria improved by 4.3% on Wednesday to 90,480.67 megawatt per hour compared to 86,760.88 megawatt per hour recorded the previous day. This is the highest recorded since the past week when the national grid witnessed a collapse. Similarly, energy generation peaked at 3,954.2 megawatt, increasing by 1.3% compared to 3,904.6 megawatt recorded in the previous day. In the same vein, off-peak generation increased by 21.2% to 3,553.4 megawatt during the day. The improvement in energy supply is following the downturn recorded last weekend when electricity supply in the country crashed by 47.3% to 37,440.1 megawatt per hour, which is the lowest level since the recovery from the national grid collapse in March. The National Engineering and Technical Company, NETCO, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, has declared a profit before tax of 4.31 billion naira for the year ended December 31, 2021. According to reports, this was made known by the Chairman, Board of Directors of NETCO, Mr. Adeyemi Adetunji, at the oil firm's 32nd annual general meeting in Lagos. Adetunji said that NETCO scaled the significant hurdles faced by the oil and gas industry as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic and global energy shift, which curtailed investment in the sector. The Tinkan Island Command of the Nigerian Customs Service has said that the total tonnage of goods exported from its command between January and March 2022 was 71,014.4 metric tons, valued at 56.21 billion naira. This was disclosed by the Customs Area Controller in charge of the command, Controller Dekunle Loyede, while speaking to journalists. He said the total free on-board value of the goods was 56.21 billion naira. He added that in corresponding period of last year, the command recorded a total tonnage of 44,502.9 metric tons with a total FOB value of 31.37 billion naira. Some of the foreign airlines flying into Nigeria will on April 19 begin the sale of their ticket in dollars amid the worsening shortage of foreign exchange in the country. The development came as foreign carriers' unremitted ticket sale proceeds in Nigeria reportedly hit $283 million, equivalent of 116.87 billion naira recently. It was learned that international airlines on APG Interline Electronic Ticketing Agreement GP code 275 would start issuing tickets in dollars effective April 19, 2022. According to the group, the development follows the difficulty in repatriating airlines funds stored in Nigeria and other countries, coupled with foreign exchange fluctuations. And that's the end of the business news. Back to Bukola for the segment of the news. Thank you for watching.